I died on Christmas Eve, choking on my own blood in the snow outside that godforsaken Hamptons mansion. My brother's hands still warm around my throat from the shove that sent me tumbling down the icy steps. "You should have stayed gone, Charlie," he'd whispered, his breath reeking of eggnog and triumph, as the world blurred into white-hot pain, and then nothing. But death isn't the end when you've got unfinished business. Waking up gasping in my old twin bed, the one with the faded American Girl sheets, staring at the ceiling fan from 2005, I realized the universe had hit the rewind button. And this time, I wasn't playing the victim. It was the summer before senior year of high school, and the air in our cramped Queens apartment hummed with the sticky heat of a New York July. Mom was at her night shift at the hospital, Dad long gone to whatever bar swallowed him whole after the divorce. And I was sprawled on the fire escape, chain-smoking menthols I'd swiped from the bodega, plotting my escape from this hellhole. In my first life, I'd clawed my way into Columbia on scholarships and grit, only to watch my so-called family, the Vander Walls, those blood-sucking elites who'd swooped in like vultures after Mom married their black sheep son, chew me up and spit me out.
But now
I knew their secrets, the rotten core beneath the silver spoons and trust funds. And I was going to burn it all down, starting with the lies that got me killed. The hook was in deep from the jump. I'd always been the outsider, the leech as Mom's new husband, Reginald van der Waal, liked to call me behind her back. He was the kingpin of Van der Waal Imports, an empire built on shady deals, smuggling knockoff luxury goods from overseas, bribing customs officials, and laundering it all through high society galas. In my past life, I'd stumbled onto the ledgers by accident, hidden in the attic of their sprawling Upper East Side brownstone during a family holiday. I'd thought I was doing the right thing, tipping off the feds anonymously. Big mistake. That sparked the chain. My brother Ethan, Reginald's golden boy, framed me for embezzlement to cover their tracks. He hacked my emails, planted fake transactions, and when the heat closed in, he made sure I took the fall, culminating in that Christmas Eve accident where he pushed me down the stairs after I'd confronted him, screaming about the truth. But Reginald? He was the puppet master, the one who'd whispered poison in Mom's ear for years, turning her against me. "Leeches like you aren't welcome," she'd spat that fateful Christmas, her voice cracking like fine china under the weight of his influence, as the family stared me down over the roast goose. It wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. They'd buried my body as an overdose, swept the investigation under the rug with their lawyers, and toasted to a tragic loss while divvying up my non-existent inheritance.
Now,
at 16, with the taste of future ashes in my mouth, I vowed they'd pay. Every last one. First things first, survival. I couldn't afford slip-ups. In this timeline, I was still Charlotte Hayes, the scholarship kid with a chip on her shoulder and a mom who worked double shifts to keep the lights on. But I remembered every detail, the way Ethan's eyes flicked to the side when he lied, the tremor in Mom's hand when she signed those prenup waivers Reginald had her forge. I started small, acing my classes, not just to get into Columbia, but to build an ironclad alibi of perfection. Teachers loved me. Guidance counselors pushed my applications. By fall, I was volunteering at the legal aid clinic downtown. For my resume, I told them, but really, I was learning the ropes of white-collar crime prosecution. How to spot laundering, how to trace offshore accounts. Knowledge was my first weapon. Mom noticed the change. Of course. "What's with the all-nighters? Kiddo, you look like you're plotting a heist." She'd laugh. ruffling my hair over microwave dinners, oblivious to how right she was. I forced smiles, played the dutiful daughter. But inside, rage simmered. The Vanderwalls had wormed their way back in faster than I'd anticipated. Reginald, with his slicked-back silver hair and Rolex that screamed old money, showed up at our door one rainy October afternoon, all charm and crocodile tears. "Evelyn's been asking about you, Charlotte. Family's family, right? Come for Thanksgiving. Bring your appetite. We're doing the full spread." Evelyn was his sister, the ice queen of the clan, married to a senator and dripping in pearls that probably funded half of Connecticut's yacht clubs. In my first life, she'd been the one to welcome me with backhanded compliments and veiled threats. Like, "Darling, with your background, it's best not to overreach." I wanted to slam the door in Reginald's face. But no, patience. I nodded, murmured thanks, and watched him drive off in his Bentley, memorizing the plate. That night, I hacked into the DMV database using a library computer and a VPN I'd learned from a shady forum. Baby steps. Thanksgiving at the Vanderval estate was a farce of excess, crystal goblets clinking, butlers in white gloves, and enough turkey to feed a small army. Ethan was there, 19 and cocky, already interning at Daddy's firm, his frat boy grin hiding the sociopath I'd later learn strangled kittens for fun. Mom clung to Reginald's arm like a lifeline, her scrub swapped for a knockoff Chanel that he gifted her another chain. Really? I played nice, complimented the wine, laughed at Ethan's dumb jokes about pledging Sigma-Chi. But under the table, my foot twitched with the memory of his hands on my neck. That's when I dropped the first pebble in the pond. Over pie, as Evelyn droned on about her latest charity gala, saving the whales, or whatever the cause du jour is, I leaned in, all wide-eyed innocence. "Hey, Uncle Reg, I read this article in the Times about import tariffs. Crazy how some companies skirt them with shell core."
Huh? Like, poof.
Money vanishes to the Caymans. The table froze. Reginald's fork hovered midair, his smile a rictus. "Out of your depth, niece," he chuckled, but his eyes were daggers. Ethan shot me a look, curious, wary. Mom beamed, proud of her smart girl. Ripple one planted. Winter crept in, and with it, the real game. I started shadowing Reginald's shipments, posing as a high school intern at the Port Authority through a forged letter from my counselor. It was risky, cops eyed me like I was trouble, but I snapped photos of manifests, discrepancies screaming fraud. One night, alone in the apartment, I cross-referenced them with public SEC filings on a borrowed laptop. Bingo! Vanderval Imports was bleeding cash into consulting fees that traced to a Dubai holding company. The same one that, in my first life, had funded Ethan's yacht parties while I rotted in a bail hearing. Christmas loomed like a guillotine. Mom was buzzing about the invite, her first real holiday with the family. This could be it.
Charlie.
A fresh start. I bit my tongue. Fresh start for her? Maybe. But for me, it was the endgame. I spent December fortifying anonymous tips to a journalist buddy I'd make in this life. A girl named Lena from the clinic, sharp as a switchblade and hungry for scoops. Hypothetical, I told her over diner coffee. What if a big fish was laundering through imports? Where do you start? She grinned, scribbling notes. Seed 2. The night arrived, snow dusting the city like powdered sugar on a corpse. The brownstone glowed with lights, Bing Crosby crooning from hidden speakers. I wore a thrift store red dress. Simple but sharp. My hair pinned like armor. Ethan greeted me with a bro hug. Too tight. His cologne choking. Little sis is all grown up. Columbia next. Yeah. He knew I hadn't applied yet, but he assumed. Arrogant prick. Inside. The air was thick with perfume and pretense. Evelyn air-kissed my cheeks, cooing about my glow. Reginald poured eggnog, his hand lingering on Mom's waist. Dinner unfolded like a bad play. Toasts to prosperity. Prayers for the less fortunate, huh? Then,
The bomb.
I'd slipped a USB into Reginald's study earlier, loaded with dummy files mirroring his real ledgers, bait. As dessert hit the table, I excused myself, bathroom, and palmed his phone from the hall table. Quick swap, cloned it in 30 seconds flat, courtesy of a YouTube tutorial I'd mastered. Back at the table, heart hammering, I watched him check his messages, brow furrowing at the alert I'd fabricated, a customs flag on a phantom shipment. What's wrong, dear? Mom asked, ever the peacemaker. Nothing, he growled, but the tension coiled like a spring. Ethan glanced at me, suspicion flickering.
Push.
I waited till the gifts, faux designer bags for Mom, a Rolex knockoff for me that screamed insult. Then, as laughter died, I stood, glass raised. To family. The kind that sticks, no matter the blood, or the lack of it. Eyes on me. Like how Uncle Reg built his empire on. Creative accounting. Remember that Cayman account? The one with the art investments? Funny how it matches the IRS leaks from last year. Silence crashed like a wave. Reginald's face purpled. What the hell are you on about? Girl? Mom's eyes widened. Charlie? Sit down. But Ethan lunged first. Chair scraping. You little bitch. Spying. The room erupted. Evelyn shrieked about ungrateful trash. Mom sobbed Reginald's name like a prayer. I stood my ground, voice steady. Leeches? That's rich. Coming from you. You've been sucking this family dry since day one. It was the line. The spark. Reginald grabbed my arm. Bruising. Hissing. You don't know what you've started.
Oh.
I did. As cops' sirens wailed in the distance, Lena's doing. Tipped off with my clone data, the twist hit, Mom. Not defending me, but him. How could you? Charlotte? After everything we've given you?
Given?
They'd given scraps. Taken my soul. Betrayal. Round 2. But this time, I was ready. The fallout from that Christmas detonation was biblical, snow-piled streets clogged with cop cars. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire outside the brownstone as federal agents in windbreakers hauled Reginald out in cuffs. His silk tie askew like a noose. Ethan snarled at me through the chaos. This isn't over. You psycho. While Mom collapsed into Evelyn's arms, wailing about ruined holidays and broken dreams. I slipped out the back, heart pounding not from fear but exhilaration, the cold air slapping my face like applause. In my first life, this would have been the beginning of my nightmare. Now, it was just intermission. I'd rewritten the script, but the real revenge, that was personal. And it started with peeling back the layers of their gilded lies, one thread at a time. Back in Queens, the apartment felt like a bunker, safe, but suffocating. Mom stumbled in at dawn, eyes red-rimmed, mascara streaked like war paint. What have you done? She whispered, collapsing onto the couch, clutching a crumpled tissue. I wanted to scream, what they've done to us. The years she'd slaved while Reginald dangled carrots, private school tuition that came with strings, gifts that bought her silence. But I played it cool, brewing coffee strong as my resolve.
Mom. He was dirty.
The accounts, the bribes, it's all there. I found it months ago. She shook her head, denial a reflex. Your stepfather's a good man. He provided.
You.
You were jealous. Always have been. Jealous? Of a life built on my erasure? The words clawed up my throat, but I swallowed them.
Not yet.
Instead, I hugged her, murmuring apologies that tasted like bile, all while my mind raced ahead. The feds had Reginald. Sure. But Ethan was slippery, already lawyered up, spinning tales of disgruntled stepdaughter sabotage. And Evelyn? She'd bury it deeper than Jimmy Hoffa, pulling senatorial strings to quash the probe. I needed leverage. Hard proof. That clone phone was gold. Text to Shell Corp lawyers. Voice memos plotting tariff dodges. But to nail them airtight, I'd go deeper into the family vault, the one secret I'd died protecting. In my past life, rifling through the attic hadn't just uncovered ledgers, it had revealed the bomb, Reginald's affair with Evelyn. Yeah, siblings, twisted as a pretzel. Started in their 20s, fueled by daddy's whiskey and mommy's neglect. It had bankrolled the business. Her consulting fees were hush money for nights in the Hamptons guest house. They'd killed to keep it buried. Their father. Heart attack in '98. But I'd seen the autopsy notes. The bruises masked as falls. And me, I'd been collateral. Too close to the flame. Twist one. I wasn't just avenging my death. I was exhuming their rot. Armed with the phone data, I hit the libraries, NYPL's microfilm room. Dusty tomes on corporate fraud, cross-referencing names. By New Year's, I'd mapped it, a web from Dubai to Delaware, implicating not just Reginald, but half the board. Lena, my journalist lifeline, met me in a dim Brooklyn dive.
Her notebook flying.
This is Pulitzer shit.
Charlie.
But you sure? These people play dirty. Dirtier than you know. I thought. Flashing to Ethan's shove. Print it. All of it. The article dropped January 15th. Front page of the Post. Vander Waal empire crumbles. Incest. Smuggling. And a trail of bodies. Hyperbole. But close. Sales skyrocketed. Talk shows buzzed. Reginald lawyered a gag order. But the damage stuck. Stock plunged 40%. Investors fleeing like rats. Ethan came for me then, unannounced, pounding on our door like Judgment Day. Mom was at work. I buzzed him up, pulse steady. He burst in, all 6-foot fury in a Burberry coat, face twisted. You think you're smart? Ruining us for your sob story? He loomed, fists clenched, and for a split second, I flashed to the stairs, the crack of skull on stone. But this body was young. Unscarred, I sidestepped, grabbing the baseball bat from under the couch. Touch me, and it's assault on top of fraud. Your call.
Bro.
He laughed. Bitter. Family.
Huh?
Dad's rotting in Rikers because of you. Mom's divorcing him, your fault. Mom? She'd filed papers that week, citing irreconcilable differences, but I saw the truth. Freedom. Finally. Or guilt. She deserves better than your circus. I shot back. And you? You're next. Those Cayman wires? They lead to your offshore poker debts. Feds love gambling addicts. His eyes narrowed. Gotcha. He lunged. Not to hit, but to grab my throat. Instincts from another life. I swung the bat, clipping his shoulder. He yelped, stumbling back.
Bitch.
Door slammed. He was gone. But the seed of doubt sprouted. Was I becoming them? Ruthless. Cornered animals? No time for philosophy. The cops showed next. Routine questions about Ethan's allegation of theft. I lawyered up with pro bono from the clinic. Stonewalled.
Clean.
Spring thawed the city. And with it, my ascent. Columbia accepted me early. Full ride. Lena's piece earned me an internship at her paper. Mom softened. Tentative brunches where she'd probe. Proud of you.
Kid.
But
Careful.
power corrupts. Hypocrite. But I nodded. Plotting. The Vanderwalls fractured. Evelyn's husband, the senator, filed for divorce amid whispers, tanking her social climb. Reginald flipped on minor players for a plea. But the incest angle? That stuck like tar. Whispers at galas turning to outright shuns. I struck at Ethan next subtly. Anonymous leak to his frat. Screenshots of his Vegas benders. Debts piling like Jenga. Hazing probe followed. He got booted. Tail between legs. Why, he texted me once. From a burner. Because leeches like you aren't welcome, I replied. Deleting the thread. Catharsis. Sharp as gin. But controversy brewed. Protests outside the post. Fake news from Van der Waal loyalists. Blue bloods decrying witch hunts. Online. I trended Leechgate. Memes of me as a vengeful elf. Talk radio called me a homewrecker vigilante. Caused fights at family dinners across America. Daughters versus moms. Trust funds versus
Truth.
I leaned in. Guest spots on CNN. Voice steady. Justice isn't pretty. It's messy. Like family. Ratings soared. I became the face of millennial reckoning. Summer hit. Sticky and vengeful. I interned at the DA's office, devouring case files on white-collar rings. One night, tailing Ethan to a dive in Chelsea, sloppy. Drunk. Picking up a girl half his age, I cornered him in the alley. Miss me? He whirled, bleary-eyed. What now? Gonna finish me? Tempting. But no, I tossed him a folder. Photocopies of his kill list. Not just dad, but rivals suicided via overdoses. Your move. Confess. Or I mail this to every newsroom from here to LA. He crumpled, sobbing like the boy he'd never been. It was him, Reginald. Made me. The old man. He found out.
About them.
The push was an accident. But
Accident.
the word ignited me. Like mine? I hissed. He froze. In this life.
He didn't know yet.
What? Christmas Eve, 2024. You shoved me down the stairs.
I died.
But I'm back. His face drained white. Belief warring with booze. Bullshit. But the fear stuck. Twist 2. Mom's call. Voice shattering. Charlie? Evelyn.
She confessed. To me.
The affair, God. It started before I met Reg. They used me to launder the image. A normal wife.
Sobs.
And you? You knew. Relief flooded.
Yeah. Mom.
And more. but we end it together. She hung up, but I heard the shift, alliance forming. Crescendo built through fall. Trials loomed. Headlines screamed. I testified. Unflinching. Under oath. The ledgers. The pushes. The blood on snow. Jurors gasped at the incest reveal. Tabloids ate it up. America divided between burn the patriarchy, cheers, and family privacy, howls. Ethan's breakdown on the stand? Gold. She came back. A ghost. Psych eval followed, mistrial whispers. But Reginald cracked. Full confession for reduced time, bodies named, including their fathers. By Winter's Eve, the empire was ash. Mom sold the brownstone, split the proceeds, half to victims' funds, half to us. Fresh start, she said, echoing my old words.
Ethan?
Rehab, then disownment. Evelyn? Scandal, suicide, pills.
Quiet.
Controversial? Hell yes, feminists hailed me. Conservatives decried destroyer of homes. I didn't care. Revenge tasted bittersweet, like victory laced with loss. But as snow fell again, 1 year to the day, the final hook sank, a letter from Ethan, postmarked from Bellevue Psych Ward. You win, sis. But the push? Mom knew. She paid me to do it. Accident insurance payout. To cut you out. Betrayal's abyss yawned. Mom, the architect? I stared at the city lights. Bat still under the couch, wondering if vengeance ever ends, or if it's just the start of your own monster. The letter burned a hole in my pocket all through that second Christmas. A ghost rattling chains I thought I'd exorcised. Mom's apartment, our new 2-bedroom in Brooklyn, paid for with her settlement, smelled of pine and cinnamon. A far cry from the brownstone's sterile opulence. She'd gone all out, twinkling lights on a Charlie Brown tree, Bing Crosby on vinyl, even a ham glazing in the oven. To us, she toasted, clinking her mug of spiked cider against mine, her eyes bright but brittle. I smiled, the perfect daughter.
But inside?
Fury coiled like barbed wire. If Ethan was lying, gaslighting from the loony bin, fine. But if true, she'd been the snake in the garden all along, poisoning the well from the prenup ink. I waited till after dinner. The dishes stacked, the radio crooning, White Christmas. Curled on the couch under a fleece throw, I pulled the envelope from my jeans, holding it like a live grenade.
Mom.
Ethan wrote. Her face tightened, the laugh lines deepening into fissures. That boy's poison. Burn it. But I didn't. I read aloud. Voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel, the payout scheme. Her whispers about my instability, the staged shove for the policy windfall. To protect the family, he claimed. Her color drained, mug slipping to the carpet with a dull thud.
Lies.
All lies. Your brother. Stepbrother. I cut in, soft but steel. And in my first life, you said it yourself. At that dinner. Leeches like, you aren't welcome. Sound familiar? The words hung, heavy as lead. She recoiled, hands fluttering. Charlie, what are you? I leaned in, eyes locked. I died.
Mom.
December 24th, 2024. Pushed by Ethan.
Covered by you.
But I came back. Rewind.
And now?
I know everything. Silence stretched, broken only by the radiator's hiss.
Then.
The dam. Tears. Confessions tumbling like dominoes. It poured out, The desperation after Dad's bender OD'd her on silence. Reginald's charm like a drug. The affair she'd suspected but ignored for the lifestyle. They promised security. For you. 2, college. A future. But when you started digging, sniffing around the books, I panicked. Ethan was weak, malleable. The insurance? A safety net. If it all crashed. Safety net. For her cage. Rage boiled. But so did pity, a toxic brew. You killed me for a payout? After everything, the shifts, the love. She sobbed. Reaching, I jerked back. I thought it'd look like suicide.
Mercy.
You were. Unhappy. Unhappy? I'd been fighting for us.
For truth.
The room spun. Memories colliding. Her hugs after schoolyard taunts. Her pride at my report cards. Fractured. Like her. Controversial choice loomed. Call the cops? Leak to Lena? Or mercy? My own twisted version? America watched anyway. My trial testimony had spawned podcasts. Charlie's Revenge. Hero or Harbinger? Debates raged on Fox versus MSNBC. Was I justice porn? Or a destroyer of the nuclear dream? Petitions circulated. Free the Vander Walls. Family first. Counter-protests. Expose the elites. I was the lightning rod. Tension crackling coast to coast. I chose the path least trod. Truth. Raw and unfiltered. No cops, yet. Instead, a family summit. Just us. In the sterile glow of a midtown diner. Snow swirling outside like confetti from hell. Mom arrived first, bundled in wool. Eyes haunted. Ethan next. Escorted by a shrink, pale. Medicated. A shadow of the frat god. This better be good, he muttered, sliding into the booth. I laid it out, the letter. Her tears.
My death.
No accusations. Just facts. Cold as January wind. Ethan crumbled first. She paid me 20 grand up front. Make it look bad. But not too bad. I froze when you hit the steps. Called her from the bushes. Mom whimpered. Head in hands. I watched from the window. Thought you'd just
break something.
Not.
D.
The word echoed. I pressed. Why? Her voice. A rasp. Fear. You'd expose us all, me included. The lies I told myself. But Charlie, I loved you. Still do.
Love.
The great American excuse. From Watergate to Wall Street crashes. The decision crystallized then. Controversial as hell. Forgiveness. With teeth. No jail for now. But restitution. Mom liquidated her shares. Funneled to a foundation. Hayes House. For single moms escaping toxic wealth. Ethan? Community service in the ports he'd poisoned. Mopping manifests under Fed supervision. And me? I walked. But wired therapy twice weekly. Unpacking the ghost in my skin. Lena ran the story. Not as takedown. But redemption arc. Vanderval's survivor forgives. A Christmas miracle? Backlash exploded. Sellout Charlie trended. Trolls calling me weak. Enablers cheering grace. Protests flared anew. Times Square rallies. Vengeance or virtue? Signs clashing under billboards hawking Rolexes. High tide hit spring '07. My Columbia fresh start. Dorm smells of ramen and ambition. Trials wrapped. Reginald. 15 years. Evelyn's estate settled scandals with NDAs. Mom volunteered at Hayes House. Finding purpose in the wreckage.
Ethan?
Clean. 6 months sober. Interning at a legit import gig. Irony's gift. We weren't family. Not like Hallmark cards. But survivors. Scarred and stitching. Yet the twist lingered. A shadow twist. In therapy, dredging the death, I uncovered my own lie. Not all ghost hallucinations from the fall. Ethan's shove real. But Mom's call? Delayed. Innocent. She'd arrived after. Screaming for help. Not cover-up. Ethan's letter? Desperation's forgery. To drag her down with him. I'd almost torched it all on a phantom. The real betrayal? My paranoia. Born of pain. Climax crested that summer. A backyard barbecue in Prospect Park. Mom's invite. Tentative peace. Ethan showed. Awkward with burgers, we talked. Not easy. But real. Sorry doesn't cut it, I said. Beer in hand. But starting over? Maybe. Laughter bubbled. Fragile as bubbles. As dusk fell, fireflies winking like stars, I felt it. Not victory, but release. Revenge had chains. Letting go? Freedom. America moved on. New scandals. Elections. Endless churn. I graduated top of class. Landed at the DOJ. Prosecuting the Leeches who slithered next. Mom remarried. Quietly. To a nurse like her, equal ground.
Ethan?
Distant uncle. Redemption his own war.
And me?
Charlotte Hayes. Twice born, no ghost. Just girl. The tension eased. Controversy faded to footnotes. In the end, the greatest twist? Happily ever after isn't tidy bows. It's the mess we mend. One forgiven shove at a time. But on quiet nights, snow tapping the window, I whisper to the dark, Leeches like you?
Nah.
We're welcome here.